Today I am going to show you how to do assignment number 1, which is the melon head. Now, let me show you what the end result is going to look like. So if you go, I'm in Moodle right now, so if you go to melon head end result, once we're done, minus the watermark, you're basically going to have a chef melon head. In order to start, you're going to go melon head start file, click on it, and go open or save. We want to open it with Adobe Photoshop CS6. Now keep in mind that I am using Firefox as my browser. If you're using Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, yours might look a little bit differently and it might be different how you save and open a file. So just keep that in mind. I am using Firefox. So I'm going to go ahead and open it. And I have all of my different pieces. Now, in order to make the melon head, the first thing we want to do is we want to open up a new file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, New, and we're going to change the pixels to inches. So we're going to do 8.5 by 11 inches. We want to make sure this says white, everything else can stay the same. And then we're going to title it. We're going to title it your last name, first initials, underscore MH for melon head, part 1. So where it says partial J, that's going to be your last name and your first initials. Once you're done, press OK. And now we have a white document. Now, your other document disappeared, but it's up here at the top. So you have two different things. You can keep them like this, or you can go View, or go actually Windows, Arrange, and this is how you would arrange the different windows. So if I want to title all vertically, I have a side-by-side view of them. Now, in order to zoom in and out of this page, there's different ways of doing it. Right here you have the zoom in. Right now I'm zoomed in at a 100%. You can click on this and physically type in what you want to zoom to. So if I want to zoom into 150%, I could do that. I could also go to View, Zoom in, Zoom out, or Fit onto the screen. Okay, I could go Windows and open up my navigator, which is going to be this thing right here. In order to use a navigator, the smaller mountains will zoom out, the bigger mountains zoom in. As you notice, as I zoom closer in, my red box gets smaller. I can use that red box to move around on my paper so I get to exactly where I want to be. So if I just wanted to see the melon, I could just see the melon. Now before we get started, before we can manipulate anything on this, we have to unlock the layer. If you notice over here, there's a little lock symbol. That means it's locked. That means nothing can be done to it. In order to unlock it, all you have to do is double click on this layer and click OK. So now we have layer 0 and the lock symbol's gone. So now we can do whatever we want to this document. If we go to our blank document, see our background is locked, and we'll just leave it locked for now. That's fine. The first thing we want to do is we want to move our melon. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to where I'm just seeing my melon on my screen. And we are going to be using, for this particular assignment, we're only going to be using the first 3 tools. Now, or actually first 4. If you notice, some of the tools have a little arrow on the bottom, like this one does not, but this one does. If it has an arrow, that just means there's more tools attached. So it's not just this one tool, there's 4 other tools. So what we're first going to do is we're going to do our rectangular marquee tool. So you're going to click on that, and then with your mouse just click and drag a square around your melon. What this does is it lets Photoshop know that this is the area that we're working with, nothing else. It's not going to let you manipulate anything outside of this square. So for example, don't do this, but I'm just going to show you. If I took my brush tool and I tried to paint, it doesn't let me paint outside of that box. Okay, so let me zoom back in. Now, in order to select just the melon, I am going to grab, there we go. I am going to grab the third tool, I'm going to click on the arrow. I'm going to choose, actually the fourth one. I'm going to choose my magic wand tool. Okay, if you notice now, I have a little magic wand now for my pointer. You want to click somewhere in between the melon and this outside box, so anywhere in this white section, but you don't want to click first. First you have to hold down Alt, and when you hold down Alt, you see you have a little minus symbol. So holding down Alt, click, and I now have the little marching ants around just my melon. Now if that did not work for you, don't panic, you can start over. Okay, so if it didn't work for you, just go edit, step backwards. Another thing that you can do, a keyboard shortcut is to hit Control Z. That is your backspace. So if you want to backspace more than once, you would go Control Alt Z, and you can just back up however far you want. So if it messes up, just start over. So just get your rectangular marquee tool, make a square, grab your magic wand, hold down Alt, click somewhere in the white, and click. And then in order to get it to this blank document, you can copy and then paste it onto this document, or you can just hit the move tool and just click and drag. And so now we have just a melon. So now over here we now have a layer 1 that's with our melon. But we're going to change the name of this layer. So by double clicking on layer 1, we're going to change it to head. That way when you get more than one layer, it keeps them from getting confused. Okay, now the little eyeball shows you it can be visible or invisible. So if I unclick the eyeball, it disappears because it's not showing. And then if I have the eye showing, that means I can see it. So now we have a head. Now it's a little bit small, so I want to make it a little bit bigger. So make sure this one's selected, and I'm actually going to hit, you can do two ways. You can go edit. Oh, you got to make sure you can't do anything unless you have one selected. So how I didn't have one selected, it wouldn't, everything was grayed out. So make sure you have a layer selected and go edit, transform, scale, or the keyboard shortcut is Control T. And then we are just, before you do that, don't do that. If you hold down Shift, it'll keep the proportions correct. It won't, like, if I don't hold down Shift, you know, I can easily distort it. So I'm just going to make mine just a little bit bigger so it takes up a little bit more of the page. And then once you're done, hit enter, and we have a little bit bigger head now. So back to our vegetables. If you notice, when I click back on this page, it's still, my marching ants are still around my melon. To the marching ants, you're just going to hit Control D, and it deselects it. It gets rid of the marching ants. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to work with our eyes. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The blueberry and the carrot, if you notice, the closer I zoom in, the more pixelated the pictures are, and that's fine. We're going to work with the blueberry and the carrot. We're going to start with the blueberry first. We're going to do the elliptical marquee tool. So if you click on that, choose your elliptical marquee tool. What it does is it creates a circle, an oval, just a rounded, whatever you want. I'm going to Control D to deselect that because that was just showing you that. Marquee tool, and you got to think of this as like a square. So I'm going to go to the top. You want to click where you think the top of the blueberry matches the side, like where they would meet up. So I'm going to say about right here. So I'm going to click and drag. That's actually pretty good. You can always move it a little bit. So let's say I clicked it and I want to move it. You can use the arrow keys to move it to get closer to where you want. So I think that's pretty good. Once you're happy, if you're not happy with it, all you have to do is Control D, deselect it, and try it again. So let me just select my mouse. Okay. Now once you're happy with your selection, click the Move tool, and we're just going to move it on top of our carrot. And then in order to deselect it, just go Control D on your keyboard. Now we're going to select this entire eye and move it over to our melon. So once again, using your elliptical marked key tool, you got to think about it as a square. Where would these meet up? And try. Now, if you feel like it's just like, you see how the top of mine is a little bit off, if you hold your space bar key down, you can actually move the entire circle, but you have to hold down the mouse and the space bar at the same time. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. You remember, you can always use your arrows to move it around a little bit. Hit the Move tool, and we're going to move it to our melon. I feel like it's a little bit small, so we're going to hit Control T, and holding down Shift, we're going to make the eyeball just a little bit bigger. And when you're happy with the size, hit Enter. And then also we have layer 1, so we're going to double, and we're going to make it left eye. Now we want to make the right eye, so all we have to do is make sure our left eye layer is selected, hold down Control Alt, and with your mouse click and drag, and it'll create a duplicate. So I held down Control Alt, click and drag, and it made a left eye copy. We don't want it to name it that. We're going to name it right eye. Okay, and you can always move these later if you feel like those are kind of close together. You can just click on the left eye, make sure your Move tool is selected, and you can always move it, click on the right eye, and you can move it wherever you want if you don't feel like where you put it the first time was a good position. Okay, now we're going to go back over to our vegetables. We're going to hit Control D to deselect. Next, we're going to do the eyebrows. So I'm going to come to my radish. Once again, we're going to use the rectangle marquee tool, and we're going to draw a little square around it. And this time, we are going to do the third tool from the top, and we are going to use the, actually, I changed my mind. We're going to use the magnetic wand tool. So kind of how we did with the melon, you're just going to click on the magic wand tool, hold down Alt, move your cursor inside of the square but not on the radish, click, and we have selected our radish. So then we're going to click the Move tool, and we're going to move over here. Our eyebrow is a little bit small, so Control T, hold down Shift, keep it proportional. It's going to be, once you're happy, hit Enter. Now we want to create a duplicate, but first let's name this left eyebrow. And we're going to create a duplicate of it. So with the left eyebrow layer selected, you're going to hold down Control Alt, click with the mouse, and drag to make a duplicate. Now it's the wrong way, so we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally, and we have now flipped it. We're going to move it where we want. You can also use your arrows keys if you want to get it a little bit, to manipulate it a little bit sooner, or not sooner, but closer. We're going to change this to right eyebrow. Okay, next we are going to go back to our vegetables, hit Control D to deselect. Next we're going to do the ears. Now this tool, we're going to use the magnetic lasso tool. So whatever the magnetic lasso tool does, when you click, it's going to magnetize itself to a color. So you can only use the magnetic tool if you have a big contrast in color. So see how I have white and then I have like a pinkish salmon color. You know, it wouldn't work if you had colors that a really busy picture or something like that. So you have to have high contrast. All you have to do is click your starting point and then just move your mouse. I'm not clicking, I'm just moving my mouse, and it's attaching itself to the picture, to the contrast in color. So I'm not clicking, I'm just physically moving my mouse around. If you ever decide that it's going off course, you can physically tell it where to go by clicking. So if I click on my mouse, I create an anchor. I'm clicking, and that's only if it starts going off course. You know, so I'm just going to keep on dragging my mouse. I'm not clicking. I might create a point right here, and then I'm just going to move my mouse. Once you're done, you're going to double click, and now we have the marching ants. I'm just going to hit my move tool, and I'm going to move it over to my melon. I'm going to hit Control T, and I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and Rotate. I think I did Rotate. You can either do clockwise or counterclockwise. I did counterclockwise, I think. And once you're done, hit Enter. And then I'm going to move it. Now we want our ear to be behind the melon. So first we're going to put right ear. And then in order to get it behind the melon, all we're going to do is click on our right ear. I'm going to drag it behind the head. So now our ear is behind the head. Okay, and then we're going to hit Control Alt, click and drag to create a duplicate. So now we have a left ear. Forgot where it went. There it is. We're going to transform it. So we're going to flip horizontally. We're going to try to put it in the same spot as the other ear. And that's pretty good so far. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we're going to go back. We're going to deselect by Control D. We are going to do the, let me zoom out and see what we have left. Oh, we'll do the mouth, which is going to be the kiwi. Okay. And like I said, there's multiple tools that can be used. I mean, you could probably use the magic wand tool on this one. You could probably use the you can use the magic wand tool. You can probably use the magnetic lasso tool. So there's more than one way of selecting all of these vegetables. We're gonna go ahead and try the elliptical marquee tool. Now, you got to think of it as a square. Click and drag. I'm gonna hold down my mouse key or my spacebar key and kind of move it just a little bit. I'm a little off, so I'm just going to use my arrow keys to go up a little bit and over. And then once I'm good, if you don't like it, just backspace and try it again. So I'm going to go Move Tool and move it. It's a little small, so Control T, hold down Shift, and we have a loud mouth, so we're going to, oops, make sure you press Enter before you start moving it. If you manipulated the way it looks, just hit Control T again and kind of make it how you want. Change it to mouth. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is the nose. We have 2 pieces of fruit left. The nose is going to be this one. There are multiple things that you can use. I think we're going to use the magic wand tool. Except for right here on the tolerance, I'm going to change mine to 32 and then just start clicking. And so it didn't quite get all of it, and that's fine. So all you have to do is hold down the Shift key and click until you get all of the mouth. And I held down the Shift key for that. Then move it, move my nose, Control T, hold down Shift to keep it proportional. And make it the size that you would like. hit enter, and then move it wherever you want. Change the name of the layer to nose. And we have two more things left. Actually, I forgot about the bow tie. So we're going to go to the bow tie. Now for this tool, we are actually going to use the polygonal lasso tool. All this does is it creates straight lines. So I'm just going to click right here, and I'm going to click, and it's going to do a straight line no matter which way you go. So wherever you want to stop at, you hit click. And then move your mouse, click, move your mouse, click, 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 and then just keep outlining the pasta, getting as little white as possible. Just clicking every now and then. If you mess up, that's okay, just start over, it's no big deal. I don't really want the shadow, so I'm going to cut the shadow of the pasta out. And then when you get back to your original point, just double click. Uh-oh, double click too many times. Hit Control Z. Going crazy on me. There we go. So if you accidentally clicked too many times like me and it disappeared, all I did was I stepped backwards, and now I have it. And then I'm just going to hit the move tool. I'm going to move it over. I kind of zoomed out, so I'm going to zoom back in for a second. I'm going to make my bow tie bigger by Control T. Hold down Shift. And hit enter. And then move it. I'm going to rename my layer bow tie. Now we have one more thing left, and that is the chef's hat. So that is going to be our mushroom. I am probably, for this one, I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. I'm just going to start right here, and I'm just going to drag my way around. I'm not clicking, I'm just physically just moving my mouse around the edge of the mushroom, and it's magnetizing itself to the differentiation in color. You can either keep that little hump or, get rid of it. If you want to get rid of it, I can just physically click and it'll skip out of it. So you can create your own anchor points if you want by clicking. And then once you get to back to the beginning, double click, move tool, and move, Control T, hold down Shift. You decide how big you want the hat to be, enter. And we also want this one to go back behind, so after we rename it hat, we are going to move it. So I'm just clicking and dragging underneath the head, and now we have our chef's hat. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger, so Control T, hold down Shift, hit enter, and you can make it whatever size you want. Okay, and now we have a finished product, so I'm actually going to make this so now I'm just going to have my picture. I'm going to zoom in. So you should have a melon head that looks somewhat like this. In order to save it, you're just going to go File, Save As. You're going to save it as a Photoshop file. You're going to name it, it should already say your name, JMH Part 1. Save it to wherever you want, and then hit Save. Click OK, and then you're also going to save it again as a Photoshop PDF file. Name it the same thing, maneuver to wherever you want to save it. I'm saving mine to my desktop, hit Save. And now you have your melon head complete. Assignment 1 is Part 1 is done. You have 2 files. You should have a Photoshop file and it's going to ask you a couple questions. Hit save. Yes. So now you should have a Photoshop file and a PDF file. And that should complete your assignment 1 part 1.